In the Central Archive of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation in Podolsk, in the collection of the 11th Guards Army, a yellowed sheet of the operational summary from the headquarters of the 179th Rifle Division, dated June 23, 1944, is preserved. In the margins, a note is made in pencil by an officer of the Operations Department. In the sector of the 234th Regiment, the enemy has ceased movements at full height. The work of Okhlopkov's group has been recorded. Movement is paralyzed. Behind this brief headquarters entry lies the final stage of the combat path of one of the most effective riflemen of the Second World War. By the summer of 1944, the official tally of Sergeant Fyodor Matveyevich Okhlopkov listed 429 destroyed enemy soldiers and officers. A search through related documents, including award lists and combat logs of the 234th and 259th Rifle Regiments, shows that the actual number of eliminated targets exceeds 500, as in the conditions of a dynamic offensive. Verification of long-range hits by third parties was often impossible. The phenomenon of Siberian and Far Eastern snipers, particularly representatives of the indigenous peoples of Yakutia, became an important element of the Red Army's defensive and offensive tactics. Before we proceed to a detailed analysis of the archival documents, subscribe to the channel. Your subscription directly helps us find rare historical sources and release new detailed studies. To understand the nature of the high effectiveness of Yakut riflemen, it is necessary to analyze the military, technical, and socio-economic context of the pre-war period. In the 1930s, a developed system of fur hunting operated on the territory of the Yakut ASSR. According to the People's Commissariat of Agriculture of the Republic, by 1939, over 18,000 people were engaged in professional hunting. The specifics of Siberian hunting required a specific set of skills from the shooter. Autonomous survival in extremely low temperatures, down to -50 degrees Celsius, the ability to read tracks on any surface, camouflage in open terrain, and crucially, super accurate shooting at small-sized targets. The hunting of squirrel or ermine was conducted exclusively using small-caliber TOZ-8 rifles or hunting shotguns. Shooting was strictly aimed at the animal's eye to avoid damaging the valuable pelt. This developed in an entire generation of hunters the skill of instantly determining distance, accounting for bullet drift and wind influence without the use of optical devices. When mobilization began in June 1941, the military commissariats of the Yakut ASSR recorded a high percentage of conscripts with the qualification of Voroshilov sharpshooter of the first and second levels. The physiological characteristics of the inhabitants of taiga regions also played an important role. Short stature, on average 160 to 165 centimeters, facilitated camouflage in the folds of the terrain and the use of standard trenches. Increased density of the capillary network in the face and limbs ensured high resistance to frostbite. Visual acuity on the Snellen scale among professional hunters often exceeded the standard indicator of 1.0, reaching values of 1.5 and 2.0, which allowed them to distinguish camouflaged objects at distances over 400 meters without binoculars. Fyodor Okhlopkov was born in 1908 in the Krest Kaljai Nasleg. Before his mobilization in September 1941, he worked on a collective farm for more than 10 years, combining agricultural labor with regular fur hunting. He arrived in the active army as part of the 1,243rd Rifle Regiment of the 375th Rifle Division. formed primarily from natives of the Urals and Siberia. The initial stage of his military service was not related to sniping. Okhlopkov was enlisted as a machine gunner, then as a crew member of an anti-tank rifle, PTR. This reflected a standard error in the distribution of the conscript contingent in the first stage of the war, when specialized skills from civilian occupations were not considered by headquarters due to the high pace of losses and the urgent need to plug gaps at the front. The first significant discrepancy in archival sources concerns the date when Okhlopkov began his sniper activities and the number of wounds he sustained during the initial period. A short biography compiled after the war claims he became a sniper in October 1942. However, the combat log of the 375th Rifle Division for March 1942 in the Rzhev area contains information about the use of super-accurate riflemen from among the Siberians to suppress enemy firing points. During this period, Okhlopkov was acting as a machine gunner, but employed a tactic of single, precise shots from a DP-27 light machine gun, expending only 1 or 2 rounds per target. The existence of such a tactic is confirmed by a report from Battalion Commander Captain Shorin, who noted the atypically low ammunition expenditure in Okhlopkov's crew alongside the high effectiveness of their defense of the front line. The logistical support for the sniper movement in the Red Army had undergone qualitative changes by 1942. Okhlopkov's primary tool became the 7.62 mm Model 1891/30 sniper rifle with a PU, shortened sight, optical sight on a Kochetov bracket. The PU sight had 3.5 times magnification and a field of view of 4 degrees 30 minutes, allowing it to confidently hit a standing figure at distances up to 800 meters and a head target up to 400 meters. The rifle's weight with the sight was 5.1 kilograms. The cartridges used were primarily designated target or with an LPS bullet, light bullet with a steel core, selected from batches with minimal tolerance for powder charge weight. The tactical arsenal of the Yakut marksman was based on a deep integration of hunting techniques into the realities of positional warfare. On the Rzhev-Vyazma axis, where Okhlopkov fought as part of the 30th Army, combat had taken on a protracted, trench-based character. The distance between the forward edges of the Soviet and German positions in a number of sectors ranged from 150 to 300 meters. These were ideal conditions for conducting so-called sniper hunts. A typical combat day for Sergeant Okhlopkov has been reconstructed from the memoirs of his partner, Corporal Kvasnikov, and reports from the division's political department. They would move into position during the pre-dawn hours, 1.5 to 2 hours before sunrise, to avoid being detected by movement. The position was set up in no man's land, among destroyed bunkers, under knocked-out tanks, or in the roots of fallen trees. Okhlopkov categorically refused to use prepared sniper niches on the parapet of the first line of trenches. The reason was that enemy artillery observers would register any changes in the landscape. The hunting skill of reading tracks transformed into observing micro-changes on the German positions. Okhlopkov would determine the presence of German observers by barely noticeable movements of tree branches, changes in the color of camouflage nets, or the appearance of small vapor trails from breathing in low temperatures. Particular attention was paid to fixing sounds. By the click of a bolt or the sound of a shovel hitting the ground, Okhlopkov could calculate the coordinates of a new enemy firing point with an accuracy of a few meters. In May 1942, near the village of Ozhibokovo in the Smolensk region, Okhlopkov demonstrated a technique that was later included in the methodological recommendations for the front's sniper schools. A German machine gun crew, positioned in a camouflaged pillbox, was blocking the advance of a rifle company. Attempts to destroy it with artillery fire from 45mm guns were unsuccessful due to the thickness of the overhead cover, 3 layers of logs and an earth embankment. Okhlopkov took up a position on the flank at a 45-degree angle to the pillbox's embrasure. Using moments when the enemy machine gun was firing and the sound of its shots masked his own, he fired 3 consecutive shots into the narrow observation slit, which was only 10 centimeters wide. All 3 bullets hit their target. The machine gun was suppressed, allowing the infantry to capture the height without additional losses. The second discrepancy in sources is related to the period of Okhlopkov's service in the 234th Rifle Regiment of the 179th Division at the end of 1943. The regiment's operational reports indicate that Okhlopkov's sniper group eliminated 24 enemy soldiers during November. At the same time, the sniper's personal logbook contains a figure of 41 eliminated targets for the same period. An analysis of topographic maps and combat journals shows that Okhlopkov conducted some of his missions in support of the neighboring 259th Regiment. His successes were recorded at the headquarters of the adjacent unit, but were not always promptly duplicated in his home regiment due to breakdowns in wire communication and the loss of messengers. The patience forged by years of taiga hunting allowed Okhlopkov to remain motionless for up to 18 hours at a time. Eyewitness accounts indicate he could lie in thawed water or snow, controlling his firing sector without the slightest movement of his fingers. To prevent the mechanisms of the Mosin rifle from freezing under conditions of high humidity and low temperatures, Siberian marksmen used a special lubricant. They completely removed the standard rifle oil, replacing it with a thin layer of animal fat or kerosene, which prevented the firing pin from jamming and the lubricant from solidifying in the bolt stop grooves. An important element of the phenomenon of Yakut marksmen was their psychological resilience. Under conditions of constant stress, artillery barrages and mortar fire, they maintained the composure necessary for an accurate shot. German documents of the 3rd Panzer Army, against which Okhlopkov operated as part of the First Baltic Front, noted the appearance of particularly dangerous Siberian riflemen shooting without miss at officer personnel and messengers. In connection with this, the German command began employing special counter-sniper groups armed with Mauser 98K rifles with ZF-41 or ZF-39 scopes. Okhlopkov's duels with German snipers are examples of the highest tactical confrontation. In the summer of 1943 near Vitebsk, a German instructor from a sniper school began operating against Okhlopkov. Over 3 days, he eliminated 4 Soviet messengers and 2 artillery observers. Okhlopkov decided to track him down. Continuous observation was conducted for 2 days. The German sniper changed positions, used false helmet dummies and decoys. Okhlopkov determined his location by an indirect sign. The German had chosen a position in a half-destroyed brick chimney of a burned-down house. Okhlopkov noticed that swallows nesting nearby were avoiding this chimney, which had not happened in previous days. This indicated the presence of a person inside the structure. To force the German to reveal himself, Okhlopkov used a classic but complicated decoy scheme. His partner raised a dummy head mounted on a trench periscopic tube above the parapet. The German sniper ignored this obvious trap. Then Okhlopkov employed the live target method. He arranged with a machine gunner who simulated a careless move into position, exposing his shoulder and the edge of his greatcoat. The German took a shot, wounding the machine gunner in the soft tissue. By the muzzle flash, barely noticeable deep within the brickwork, Okhlopkov pinpointed the exact embrasure. A return shot eliminated the German instructor. Okhlopkov's bullet passed through the lens of the optical sight, confirming the absolute accuracy of the aim. A critical audit of command decisions reveals a third systemic error in the use of sniper personnel. In the summer of 1944, during Operation Bagration, the pace of the Soviet offensive reached 20 to 30 kilometers per day. Under these conditions, the command of the 179th Rifle Division often used snipers as regular line infantry for assaulting strongpoints. This was a gross violation of the Infantry Combat Manual, which prescribed preserving qualified specialists for specific tasks. As a result of such decisions, Okhlopkov received 12 wounds during the war, 4 of which were serious. Shrapnel and bullet wounds to the chest and thigh, as well as broken limbs, repeatedly incapacitated him, requiring lengthy recovery in hospitals. The use of unique specialists in conventional combat led to an unjustified reduction in the Army's overall sniper potential. Okhlopkov's effectiveness was determined not only by his personal tally, but also by the school he created. As part of the 234th Regiment, he trained over 30 snipers from among young soldiers, including fellow countrymen from Yakutia. The combined tally of his pupils exceeded 1,200 eliminated targets. He taught them methods of selecting positions, breath control at the moment of pulling the trigger, firing on a half exhale between heartbeats, and ballistic calculations. Okhlopkov made his pupils memorize tables of bullet trajectory height above the line of sight for various distances. For a cartridge with the model 1908 bullet with a sight setting of 400 meters, the highest point of the trajectory is 44 centimeters. Snipers had to know these technical data by heart to instantly adjust their point of aim when shooting at moving targets. The material damage inflicted by Okhlopkov and his group on enemy manpower is comparable to the actions of an entire artillery battalion. The destruction of 429 confirmed targets meant incapacitating almost 2 battalions of infantry, according to the table of organization for a German infantry division in 1944. But the main effect was psychological. In Okhlopkov's sector of operation, German soldiers were forced to move exclusively along the bottom of deep trenches. The daytime supply of forward positions was completely paralyzed, and the work of artillery spotters and liaison officers was hampered. This significantly reduced the stability of the German defense on key sectors of the front. Fyodor Okhlopkov's combat path ended on June 23, 1944, near Vitebsk. During the assault on a heavily fortified defensive line near the village of Lugi, while operating in the line of advancing infantry, he received a severe through-and-through wound to the chest. The bullet damaged his lung. Okhlopkov was evacuated to a rear hospital and did not return to the front. By a decree of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR on May 23, 1965, for the courage and heroism shown in the fight against the German fascist invaders, Sergeant Fyodor Matveyevich Okhlopkov was awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union with the Order of Lenin and the Gold Star Medal. The phenomenon of Siberian hunters, exemplified by Okhlopkov, proved that the integration of traditional hunting skills with rigorous military ballistic training yields maximum results in the context of large-scale military conflicts. Their patience, composure, and ability to read the landscape like an open book became an important factor in the effectiveness of the Soviet sniper school, which contributed significantly to altering the logistical balance and achieving the final operational tactical results of the Red Army on the battlefields.